My mother stood at my hospital bed after my miscarriage and told me God had done my baby a favor by not letting me become a mother. I was lying in a sterile white room, my body still cramping from the loss of the child I had wanted, more than anything in the world. There was blood on the sheets. They hadn't changed them yet, hadn't had time, and I was hooked up to an IV that pumped fluids into my depleted body. I had been pregnant for 14 weeks, 14 weeks of hope, 14 weeks of imagining a future with a tiny person who would call me mom, 14 weeks of talking to my belly, of buying tiny socks and onesies, of picking out names with my husband Marcus. And then, 3 hours ago, it had all ended. The cramping started at work. The bleeding followed. By the time Marcus got me to the emergency room, there was nothing the doctors could do. "I'm so sorry," the doctor had said, her face full of genuine compassion. "There was nothing you could have done differently. Sometimes these things just happen." Sometimes these things just happen. My baby was gone, and I was lying in a hospital bed surrounded by machines that beeped my vital signs to an indifferent universe, trying to understand how my life could shatter so completely in a single afternoon. That's when my family arrived. My mother walked in first, her heels clicking against the linoleum floor with the same authoritative rhythm I had heard my entire life. She was dressed impeccably, designer suit, perfect hair, jewelry that caught the fluorescent light and threw tiny rainbows across the ceiling. She had clearly come straight from some important event. She always had important events. My father followed behind her, silent as always, a shadow to her substance. And my sister Cleoma brought up the rear, phone already in hand, already recording. I should have known then that something was wrong, but I was drugged, exhausted, grieving. I wasn't thinking clearly. "Vivian," my mother said, stopping at the foot of my bed. She didn't move to hug me, didn't reach for my hand, didn't offer any of the comfort a mother should offer a daughter who had just lost a child. She just looked at me with an expression I had seen many times before: disappointment, judgment, disgust. "I heard what happened," she said. "Mom, I couldn't finish the sentence. The tears were already starting. "Don't cry. Crying won't change anything." "I just lost my baby." "Did you, though?" She tilted her head, studying me like I was a specimen under glass. Or did God simply correct a mistake before it went too far? I stared at her, trying to process what she was saying. "What?" "Let's be honest, Vivian. You were never meant to be a mother. You're too selfish, too career-focused, too much like your father." She shot a dismissive glance at my dad. "Incapable of putting anyone else's needs before your own." "That's not true." "God knew you'd be a terrible mother." She said it calmly, matter-of-factly, like she was commenting on the weather. "He did that baby a favor." The words hit me like a physical blow. I looked at my father, desperate for him to object, to defend me, to say something, anything, that would prove my mother had gone too far. He nodded, just nodded, like he agreed with every word she had said. And then I heard it, a small laugh, from Cleoma, who was still holding her phone up, still recording, her face split in a grin that said she was enjoying every moment of my devastation. I watched, frozen, as she typed something on her phone. A few seconds later, my own phone buzzed on the bedside table, a notification from our family group chat. Cleoma had posted the video of my mother's speech, with a laughing emoji. My sister had recorded my mother telling me that God killed my baby because I would have been a terrible mother, and she had shared it with our entire extended family, as a joke. I lay there, bleeding, grieving, broken. And I said nothing. My name is Vivienne Okafor Chen. I am 33 years old. I was born in Houston, Texas, the youngest daughter of Dr. Richard and Elizabeth Okafor, a surgeon and a hospital administrator, both pillars of the Nigerian-American community, both respected and admired by everyone who knew them, everyone except me, because I knew who they really were behind closed doors. My mother was a narcissist who had spent my entire life ensuring I knew I was the least valuable member of our family. My sister Adana was the beauty, my sister Cleoma was the genius, and I was nothing. The afterthought, the accident, the child who had arrived 5 years after my parents thought they were done having children. "You were a surprise," my mother used to say, in a tone that made clear surprise was not a compliment. My father was her enabler, a man so beaten down by decades of marriage to a controlling woman that he had lost the ability to form independent opinions. He agreed with whatever she said. He nodded at whatever cruelty she dispensed. He had stopped being a person years ago and become merely an extension of her will. And my sister Quioma was her apprentice, learning at our mother's knee how to weaponize cruelty, how to disguise abuse as humor, how to destroy someone while maintaining plausible deniability. The video in the group chat was proof of who they were, but I was too broken to use it. Not yet. The days after the miscarriage were a blur of grief and pain. Marcus was wonderful. He held me when I cried. He handled the arrangements. There are arrangements after a miscarriage, things that have to be done that no one tells you about until you're living through them. He protected me from well-meaning friends who said the wrong things, from relatives who offered empty platitudes, from a world that seemed determined to minimize my loss. At least you know you can get pregnant. Everything happens for a reason. Maybe it just wasn't meant to be. I heard them all. I smiled through them. I nodded and thanked people for their condolences. But inside, I was drowning. And then there was the video. The family group chat had 37 members, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone connected to the Okafor family tree. They had all seen what my mother said. They had all seen Quioma's laughing emoji, and not one of them had objected. Some had even added their own reactions. A thumbs up from my uncle, a heart from my aunt, a LOL from a cousin I had always thought was kind. They all agreed with my mother. They all thought she was right. They all believed I would have been a terrible mother. I left the group chat that night. I blocked everyone in it, and I disappeared. For 11 months, I was silent. I didn't call my parents. I didn't respond to their occasional texts. My mother never apologized. She sent messages like, "Hope you're feeling better," as if she had said nothing wrong. I didn't attend family gatherings. I didn't acknowledge their existence. Marcus supported my decision. He had seen the video. He had watched my face as I read the reactions. He understood that some wounds require complete separation to heal. "Take all the time you need," he said. "I'll handle them if they show up. You focus on yourself." So I focused on myself. I went to therapy, real therapy, with a trauma-informed psychologist who specialized in family dysfunction and narcissistic abuse. I processed not just the miscarriage, but the lifetime of emotional violence that had preceded it. I learned about narcissistic mothers, about golden children and scapegoats, about the roles families assign and the damage those roles cause. I learned that I wasn't defective. I was abused, and there was a difference. 3 months into therapy, I got pregnant again. I didn't tell my family. I didn't tell anyone except Marcus and my closest friends. I wasn't going to let them poison this experience the way they had poisoned everything else. The pregnancy was terrifying. Every cramp sent me into a panic. Every day without symptoms made me convinced something was wrong. I lived in a constant state of anxiety, waiting for the loss I was sure was coming. But it didn't come. The first trimester passed, then the second, then the third. And on a beautiful morning in October, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl. We named her Grace, because that's what she was, a Grace I hadn't known I deserved. I held her in the hospital, looking into eyes that were dark like mine, and I made her a promise. "I will never make you feel worthless," I whispered. "I will never let anyone tell you that you're not enough. You are wanted. You are loved. You are everything." I was crying, but for the first time in years, they were happy tears. Grace was 3 months old when I finally felt ready to face my family, ready to respond to the silence, ready to show them exactly what I had become. I had spent 11 months preparing, not just healing, but documenting. I had saved every cruel text, message my mother had sent over the years. I had collected screenshots of family group chat conversations where I was mocked, dismissed, belittled. I had gathered records of the money I had loaned family members that was never repaid, the events I had hosted that no one acknowledged, the countless ways I had tried to buy love that was never for sale. And I had saved the video of my mother standing at my hospital bed telling me that God had done my baby a favor. The video my sister had posted with a laughing emoji. The video that 37 family members had seen and approved. For 11 months, that video had existed only in the family group chat, a private shame, a family joke, something that would never leave our insular circle. But I had saved it, and now I was going to share it with the world. The morning of my plan, I woke up early. Grace was sleeping peacefully in her crib. Marcus was beside me, already awake, understanding that today was significant. "Are you sure?" he asked. "I've never been more sure of anything." "They'll be furious. They'll be exposed. There's a difference." I picked up my phone. I opened Instagram, and I posted. The caption was simple. 11 months ago, I had a miscarriage. I was bleeding in a hospital bed when my mother said these words to me. My sister recorded it and shared it with our family group chat. They all laughed. Today I'm sharing it with the world, not for revenge, for truth. Because I want every woman who has ever been told she's not good enough by her own family to know, you are not alone. You are not the problem, and you deserve better. I attached the video. I tagged my mother, my father, my sister, and I pressed post. Then I opened the family group chat, the one I had left 11 months ago, and rejoined. I didn't say hello. I didn't explain myself. I just sent one text. I posted the video, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. It's everywhere now. You have about 40 minutes before it goes viral. I suggest you prepare. Then I closed my phone and went to make breakfast. The notifications started within minutes. My phone buzzed with messages, calls, reactions. So many that I had to turn off notifications entirely just to have peace. But I didn't respond. I just watched. Within 20 minutes, my mother had tried to call me 17 times. Within 30 minutes, my father had sent a series of texts, ranging from confused, "What did you post?" to panicked, "Take it down immediately," to threatening, "You will regret this." Within 40 minutes, 3 family members had deleted their entire social media presence. My sister Kioma was first. Her Instagram, where she had carefully curated an image of herself as a compassionate nurse, a devoted daughter, a pillar of the community, disappeared entirely. Her Facebook followed, then her Twitter, then her LinkedIn. My uncle followed next, the one who had given a thumbs up to my mother's cruelty. He was a deacon at his church, a respected businessman, a man with a reputation to protect. All of it vanished. Then my aunt, the one who had hearted the video. She was a school teacher, beloved by her students, admirée par leurs parents. Elle ne pouvait pas se permettre d'avoir quelqu'un découvrir ce qu'elle avait endossé. Dans une heure, la vidéo avait été vue 50 000 fois. À la fin de la journée, elle avait crossed 1 million. By the end of the week, it had been featured on news sites, shared by influencers, discussed on talk shows. The footage of my mother, perfectly dressed, perfectly composed, perfectly cruel, had become a symbol of everything wrong with families that value reputation over love. People recognized her. People who worked with her at the hospital, people who attended her church, people who had admired her from afar, never knowing what she was capable of saying to her own daughter. The comments poured in. "I can't believe a mother could say this. My mom said something similar. I thought I was alone. This is what narcissistic abuse looks like. Your sister recorded it and laughed? What kind of family is this? You didn't deserve this. No one does." I read every comment, every story from women who had experienced similar cruelty, every message of support and solidarity, and I realized that in sharing my pain, I had created something larger than myself, a community of people who had been told they weren't enough, a chorus of voices saying, "You are not alone." The fallout for my family was swift and severe. My mother was placed on administrative leave from her position at the hospital pending an investigation into her conduct and character. The investigation wasn't about what she had said to me, that was a personal matter, but about what it revealed about who she was. Colleagues came forward with stories of her cruelty, her manipulation, her abuse of power. She'd been protected for years by her status and her connections, but the video had shattered that protection. She resigned before they could fire her. My father, ever the enabler, tried to spin the situation. He gave an interview to a local news station, claiming the video was taken out of context and that his wife had been under tremendous stress at the time. The interviewer asked if he regretted nodding along with her statement. He had no answer. My sister Chioma's nursing career was effectively over, not because anyone fired her, though there were calls for that, but because no patient wanted to be treated by the woman who had laughed at her sister's miscarriage. She was transferred to administrative duties, hidden away from the public, a shadow of the rising star she had been. And the extended family, the aunts and uncles and cousins who had reacted with thumbs up and hearts and LOL, found themselves explaining their participation to employers, churches, friends, and communities. Some issued apologies. Most were clearly written by PR professionals. Some tried to claim they hadn't seen the video, had only reacted to be polite, hadn't understood what they were endorsing. No one believed them. 6 months after I posted the video, my mother showed up at my door. I don't know how she found my address. We had moved twice since cutting off the family, specifically to avoid this kind of confrontation. But there she was, standing on my porch, looking smaller than I remembered. She had aged. The stress of public exposure, of professional ruin, of being seen for who she truly was, it had taken a toll. Her hair was grayer, her face was more lined. The confidence that had always radiated from her like a physical force was diminished. But her eyes were the same, cold, calculating, incapable of genuine emotion. "Vivian," she said, "we need to talk." I stood in the doorway, Grace in my arms, my body blocking entrance to my home. "No, we don't. You've destroyed this family. You destroyed this family. I just showed people the truth. That video was a private moment. You had no right." Chioma posted it to 37 people with a laughing emoji. "You lost any claim to privacy the moment you made my suffering a family joke." I was upset. I said things I didn't mean. "You meant every word. You've been saying versions of the same thing my entire life. The only difference is that this time there was a camera." She looked at Grace, and I saw something flicker across her face. Hunger. She wanted access to my child. She wanted another opportunity to control, to manipulate, to damage. "Is that my granddaughter?" "No." "What do you mean, no? I'm her grandmother." "You're a stranger who shares some DNA with her. Grandmothers don't tell their daughters that God killed their babies as a favor. Grandmothers don't raise children to believe they're worthless. Grandmothers don't lose their humanity so completely that they can stand at a hospital bed and mock a woman who's bleeding from a miscarriage. I made mistakes. You made choices. There's a difference. Mistakes are accidental. What you did was deliberate. Every word, every cruelty, every moment of making me feel less than human. All of it was a choice." I stepped back into the house. "Don't come here again. Don't try to contact me. Don't try to contact Marcus. And if you ever try to approach Grace, I will get a restraining order and I will make it very, very public." I closed the door in her face, and I felt nothing. No guilt, no doubt, just peace. The peace of finally being free. Grace is 2 years old now. She's walking, talking, terrorizing the cat, and bringing more joy into my life than I ever thought possible. Every day I look at her and think about what my mother said. "God knew you'd be a terrible mother. He did that baby a favor." And I know with absolute certainty that she was wrong. I'm not a perfect mother. No one is. I make mistakes, lose my patience, sometimes feel completely overwhelmed by the responsibility of raising another human being, but I love my daughter. I love her unconditionally, without reservation, without expecting her to earn it. I will never stand at her bedside in her worst moment and tell her she deserved it. I will never make her feel like a burden, an inconvenience, a mistake. I will never be my mother, and that is enough. The video still circulates sometimes. It gets shared when conversations about narcissistic parents trend. It appears in articles about family estrangement. It's used in psychology courses as an example of emotional abuse. I've made peace with its permanence. It's not just my story anymore. It belongs to every daughter who was told she wasn't enough, every mother who lost a child and was blamed for it, every woman who was mocked in her moment of greatest vulnerability. They see my mother's face and recognize their own. They see my silence and remember their own. And they see what I did next and realize that silence doesn't have to be forever. My father reached out once, about a year after the video, an email, not a phone call. He always preferred the distance of written communication. "Vivienne, I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But I want you to understand that I was in an impossible position. Your mother is not an easy woman. She never has been. I've spent 40 years trying to keep the peace, trying to make things work, trying to hold this family together. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I just want you to know that I loved you in my own way. I was just too weak to show it when it mattered. Your father. I read the email several times. Then I deleted it. Because I loved you in my own way is not love. Nodding while your wife destroys your daughter is not love. 40 years of enabling cruelty is not love. It's cowardice. And I don't have room in my life for cowards anymore. If this story resonates with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and whether you've ever had to choose silence before you could choose your voice. Like and subscribe for more stories about survival, truth, and the families we build when the ones we're born into fail us. God knew you'd be a terrible mother. He did that baby a favor. That's what my mother said at my hospital bed after my miscarriage. My father nodded. My sister recorded it and posted it with, "I lay there bleeding. I said nothing. For 11 months, I said nothing. I healed. I processed. I got pregnant again. I gave birth to a healthy baby girl, and then I was ready." I sent one text to the family group chat. I posted the video everywhere. You have 40 minutes to prepare. Within 40 minutes, 3 family members deleted their entire social media. Within a week, 12 million people had seen my mother's true face. Within a month, her career was over. God knew you'd be a terrible mother. No, Mom. God gave me grace. A daughter I will never treat the way you treated me. That's what terrible. Mothers can never understand that we can choose to be different, and I chose.